What's up, guys? It's Finance CJ. Happy Finance Friday, and today is episode 11 and episode 3 of my Why Pick a Winner series. And today we're going to be talking about e-commerce, and we're going to be talking about Amazon, Mercado Libre, Shopify, and Etsy. Now, before we get into anything, the reason I want to talk about why we're doing e-commerce is because I learned some fantastic facts about e-commerce, and the best fact I learned was that e-commerce only makes up 14.9% of all retail sales. Now, if you're like me and you love the ease and convenience of shopping online, you're going to continue to shop online. As always, we're going to talk about some key points of these businesses. Now, if this is your first time joining me, thanks for joining. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when my videos are posted. Definitely check out the first 2 videos in the series up here, just to catch you up on the channel and to talk about what these metrics actually mean a little more in depth. But today we're going to be talking about net revenue or net sales, net income, active users, and of course, cash on hand or free cash flow. And before we get into it, I just want to remind everyone that I am not a licensed professional. This is not financial advice, and I encourage you to do your own due diligence before making a stock trade. So as always, let's get the sheet out and go through the numbers and then talk about it. All right, so we'll start with none other than Amazon. Amazon in 2020 Q3 had net sales of $96.1 billion versus $70 billion the year before in the same quarter. Net income of $6.3 billion versus $3.2 billion the year before, and 150 million active Prime subscribers. And to top it off, they have $29.5 billion in cash on hand. The second company we're going to be comparing it to is Mercado Libre. Many people call this the Amazon of South America, and for rightful reasons, they follow the same business model of Amazon. So for 2020 Q3, they had net sales of $1.115 billion versus $603 million the year before, a net income of $15 million versus a loss of $143 million the year before, 76.1 million active users, which was up 92% in Q3, and a total free cash flow of $1.139 billion. So as we know, Amazon is a household name, and Mercado Libre is trying to mimic Amazon of South America, and they are doing it in many different countries. So Mercado Libre is projecting to be more of an Amazon, just on a smaller scale, because South America is not as large as the US market yet. Mercado Libre is constantly growing, as we saw. They turned a profit this year, mostly due to the pandemic and more people shopping online, but it's still nice to see them growing in the right direction. A lot of the issues that have been coming from Mercado Libre is the fact that they are in underdeveloped markets, and as those markets develop, which they will, it'll continue to grow at a rapid trend. Amazon needs no introduction. Amazon still has room to grow because, like I said, that only 14.9% of sales for retail come from the e-commerce, and I believe Amazon will help us see those numbers double in the next 10 years. And even as large as Amazon is, Amazon was still able to increase its net sales over $20 billion this year in this quarter alone, comparing it to the previous one. Now, that can't happen every year, of course, we're in a special circumstance, but it is something to keep in mind. To add on, they almost doubled their net revenue. And of course, they have a ton of cash on hand to do whatever they want in the near future if they choose to go that route of inorganic growth and purchase or buy out a company. If you're like me, these stocks may seem very expensive, but the benefit of today is we are able to buy fractional shares. So if you only have $100, you can still buy $100 worth of Amazon and still be able to see that growth and see the money come back to you, even though you don't own a full share. And you can continue to add money until you own a full share and continue to grow your portfolio by dollar cost averaging whatever you can into these companies. Now, these are great companies because there's still room to grow, and like I said, Amazon is a top tier company already, but it still has projection to growth, and Amazon finds a way to work into everything. Mercado Libre is on a smaller scale, and it may be the fraction of the size of Amazon, but it could grow very rapidly, as we've seen Amazon do in the past. Now, before we get into the next 2 companies, I do want to know what's your opinion on these companies, so leave a comment down below and let me know. So let's get into the next two companies, which are Shopify and Etsy. So we'll start with Shopify's 2020 Q3 had a net revenue of $767 million versus $390 million the year before, a net income of $191 million versus a loss of $78 million the year before. Active merchants are about 500,000. Now, I couldn't find an active user statistic for Shopify in their quarterly earnings, so I went with the active merchants just because it seems that's where most of the fees go, and that's how Shopify makes a great deal of their money. That's just why I did active merchants over total active users. And lastly, cash on hand is about $3 billion. Now let's compare it to Etsy, which had a 2020 Q3 net revenue of $451 million versus $297 million the year before, a net income of $92 million versus $15 million the year before, active buyers up 70,000 from 45,000, and cash on hand of $1.6 billion. Now, some of you may not have heard of Shopify or even Etsy for that matter. These businesses are very comparable because it allows people like you and me to set up shop on an e-commerce platform and sell whatever we'd like, whether it's on Shopify or Etsy. Shopify is very big in Canada, is one of the biggest companies in Canada and one of the biggest stocks in Canada. Etsy is very well known for their homemade goods, and both stocks saw a major run-up in 2020, as well as Amazon and Mercado Libre, because more people were shopping online. These companies get the same benefit as the others just because e-commerce is going to continue to take market share away from traditional retails, and those retail sales are going to come onto e-commerce. But to dive a little more into Etsy, Etsy's management team was able to make major pivots this year and increase mass sales, and they even had to address it on their earnings, the fact that they had sales without counting mask revenue, and they had a separate statistic for people reading through the quarterly report. They had a major scare a few years back when Amazon was interested in making a homemade goods section of their Amazon platform. But Etsy weathered the storm and continued to grow, and the stock saw a major run-up this year. And now, as we transition into Shopify, I want to just be clear, I didn't get a good vibe from the quarterly earnings. It was just difficult to read, and they didn't really share the numbers that most people would look for in an e-commerce business. They touted a number of 1 million merchants on their platform, but as I dug deeper, it seems like the active merchants are about 500,000. So it is something to keep in mind that a company that isn't as transparent with their numbers is something to be a little weary of, but the company is still showing great growth and great trajectory. Even though these companies aren't direct competitors to each other, they are still in the same market, and that's why we can put them in a basket together. With that being said, let's revisit why I made this series. Why Pick a Winner takes companies in the same sector or mini sector, such as e-commerce, and these companies, Amazon is in a tier of its own, being a well-established company, and Mercado Libre is a South American company, Shopify is Canada, Etsy is more of a focus on homemade goods. They all have their own little niche, which is why we can put them in the basket together. They're not direct competitors, but they are still competitors. But with that being said, there's enough market share for all of them. I like these companies not for dividends, which is what I normally go for, but more for the growth factor because, like I said, the main statistic that I took away from this, I can't stress this enough, that only 14.9% of all retail sales happens on e-commerce platforms. I think that number could easily double in the next 5 to 10 years and even possibly triple within the next 20 years. People are going to find it more easy to shop online and even find more of a selection shopping online, and that's what people want, more things that are tailored to them. This basket idea is definitely a basket for the future, but you will have to pay a little bit of a premium as all of the stocks are fairly expensive. And you can even look back at 2020 and see how much of a run-up all these stocks had. However, I believe these companies will continue to grow in the future and continue to produce value for their shareholders. So definitely let me know what companies you own in this basket, and if you're more interested in this basket. Let me know if you want me to do a mini dive into any stocks down below in the comments. I'll gladly take a look and I will gladly work it into a video. As always, thanks for joining me. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and if you feel so kind, share the video. It helps me reach more people and it helps me gain more followers so I can help more people. Don't forget to check back to the channel on Mondays and Fridays. I will be posting double the content now. Mondays will be Personal Finance Day. Fridays will be Investing Day, and we'll take it from there and see what you guys like. Definitely let me know down in the comments what you think about the channel and where it's going. And until next time, good night, guys.